President Obama, I have long believed that the most elegant way to drive innovation and to reduce carbon emissions is to put a price on it. This is a classic market failure. If you open up an Econ 101 textbook, it will say the market is very good about determining prices and allocating capital towards its most productive use, except there are certain externalities. There are certain things that the market just doesn't count, it doesn't price. At least not on its own. Clean air is an example. Clean water, or the converse, dirty water, dirty air. In this case, the carbons that are being sent up that originally we didn't have the science to fully understand, we do now. And if that's the case, if you put a price on it, then the entire market would respond. And the best investments and the smartest technologies would begin scrubbing effectively our entire economy. But it's difficult. And so I think that as the science around climate change is more accepted, as people start realizing that even today you can put a price on the damage that climate change is doing. You go down to Miami, and when it's flooding, at high tide on a sunny day and fish are swimming through the middle of the streets, there's a cost to that. Insurance companies already are beginning to realize that in terms of how they price risk. And the more the market on its own starts putting a price on it because of risk, it may be that the politics around setting up a cap and trade system, for example, shifts as well. Obviously, I'm not under any illusion that this Congress will impose something like that. but it is worth remembering that it was conservatives and Republicans and center-right think tanks that originally figured out this was a smarter way to deal with pollution than a command and control system. And it was. Folks like George H. W. Bush and his EPA that effectively marshaled this approach to deal with acid rain. We ended up solving it a lot faster, a lot cheaper than anybody had anticipated. And I guess, more than anything, that's the main message I want to send here. Is climate change is a massive problem. It is a generational problem. It's a problem that, by definition, is just about the hardest thing for any political system to absorb, because the effects are gradual, they're diffuse. People don't feel it immediately, and so there's not a lot of constituency. Pressure on politicians to do something about it right away, it kind of creeps up on you. You've got the problem of the commons and you've got to get everybody doing it because if just one nation is helping but the other nations aren't doing it, then it doesn't do any good, so you have this huge coordination problem and the danger of free riders. So on all these dimensions, it's hard to come up with a tougher problem than climate change. Or a more consequential problem. And yet, despite all that, the main message I've got is, I actually think we're going to solve this thing. If you had said to people as recently as 2 years ago that we'd have 180 countries showing up in Paris with pretty ambitious targets for carbon reduction, most people would have said you're crazy, that's a pipe dream. And yet, Here we are. That's already happened. Before the agreement is even signed, that's already happened. As I said earlier, if you had told folks what the cost of generating solar energy would be today relative to what it was 5 years ago, people would have said, not a chance. And with relatively modest inputs, that's already happening. I mean, imagine if we're starting to put more R&D dollars into it, which is why the mission innovation announcement was so significant. The biggest countries, the most prosperous countries doubling their R&D, but then you've also got Bill Gates and other extraordinarily wealthy individuals saying we're going to put our money into this. I'm optimistic. I think we're going to solve it. I think the issue is just going to be the pace and how much damage is done before we are able to fully apply the brakes. And in some ways, it's akin to the problem of terrorism and ISIL. In the immediate aftermath of a terrible attack like happened here in Paris. Sometimes it's natural for people to despair. But look at Paris. You can't tear down Paris because of the demented actions of a handful individuals. The beauty, the joy, the life, the culture, the people, the diversity that's going to win out every time. But we have to be steady in applying pressure to the problem. We have to keep on going at it. We have to see what works. When something doesn't work, we have to change our approach. But most of all, we have to push away fear, and have confidence that human innovation, our values, our judgment, our solidarity, it will win out. And I guess I've been at this long enough where I have some cause for confidence. We went, what, a month and a half, where people were pretty sure that Ebola was going to kill us all. Well, nobody asks me about it anymore. And although we still see flickers of it in West Africa, we set up an entire global health security agenda, part of American leadership. To deal not only with Ebola but to deal with the possibility of future pandemics. It's not easy. It takes time. And when you're in the midst of it, it's frightening. But it's solvable. All right. With that, I'm going to go home. Vive la France. Thank you very much. Barack Obama. Address on the terrorist attacks in Paris. Delivered November 13, 2015, Washington, D. C. Good evening, everybody. I just want to make a few brief comments about the attacks across Paris tonight. Once again, we've seen an outrageous attempt to terrorize innocent civilians. This is an attack not just on Paris, it's an attack not just on the people of France. But this is an attack on all of humanity and the universal values that we share. We stand prepared and ready to provide whatever assistance. that the government and the people of France need to respond. France is our oldest ally. The French people have stood shoulder to shoulder with the United States time and again. And we want to be very clear that we stand together with them in the fight against terrorism and extremism. Paris itself represents the timeless values of human progress. Those who think that they can terrorize the people of France or the values that they stand for are wrong. The American people draw strength from the French people's commitment to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. We are reminded in this time of tragedy that the bonds of liberté and égalité and fraternité are not only values that the French people care so deeply about, but they are values that we share. And those values are going to endure far beyond any act of terrorism. Or the hateful vision of those who perpetrated the crimes this evening. We're going to do whatever it takes to work with the French people and with nations around the world to bring these terrorists to justice. And to go after any terrorist networks that go after our people. We don't yet know all the details of what has happened. We have been in contact with French officials to communicate our deepest condolences to the families of those who have been killed. To offer our prayers and thoughts to those who have been wounded. We have offered our full support to them. The situation is still unfolding. I've chosen not to call President Hollande at this time. Because my expectation is that he's very busy at the moment. I actually, by coincidence, was talking to him earlier today in preparation for the G20 meeting. But I am confident that I'll be in direct communications with him in the next few days. And will be coordinating in any ways that they think are helpful in the investigation of what's happened. This is a heartbreaking situation. And obviously those of us here in the United States know what it's like. We've gone through these kinds of episodes ourselves. And whenever these kinds of attacks happened, we've always been able to count on the French people to stand with us. They have been an extraordinary counter-terrorism partner. And we intend to be there with them in that same fashion. I'm sure that in the days ahead we'll learn more about exactly what happened. And my teams will make sure that we are in communication with the press to provide you accurate information. I don't want to speculate at this point in terms of who was responsible for this. It appears that there may still be live activity and dangers that are taking place as we speak. And so until we know from French officials that the situation is under control, and we have for more information about it, I don't want to speculate. Okay. Thank you very much. Barack Obama. Address at Pearl Harbor. Delivered December 27, 2016, Oahu, Hawaii. President Obama, Prime Minister Abe, on behalf of the American people, thank you for your gracious words. Thank you for your presence here today, an historic gesture that speaks to the power of reconciliation and the alliance between the American and Japanese peoples. A reminder that even the deepest wounds of war can give way to friendship and lasting peace.